Tweeting it. We're live.
Going live. Going live.
Bum, 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 bum.
Nice.
There it is.
I could die. I don't know. There's flim flam in there.
Flim flam.
Flan?
Phlegm.
That is a weirdly spelled word.
I kicked the bucket. I was
Phlegm?
like, what the fuck is that?
You mean the
I slightly.
basket?
I slightly.
It's a basket.
Ball?
Are we going with basket?
Basket.
We
Ball.
did decide. Okay.
I feel like I'm going to accidentally say bucket, though.
You are. Because it is a bucket.
It is a bucket.
Yeah.
It's more of a bucket.
It's a hoop of balls.
But, you know, I
No.
think there's a weird...
No.
There's not a very defined line when you're talking about buckets versus baskets.
Well, I feel like basket is kind of like a woven thing that's made out of like that, where a bucket is like a solid thing.
object. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I'm an idiot.
Teve is ready to go on YouTube. He said,
It's a good man.
yeet.
Ooh, that's
I
how
don't
you know.
I'm
That's
going to
how
be
you know
honest.
right
I
there.
do not have any idea what that means.
Yeah, but he's excited. He put an exclamation point, so.
That's
Great.
awesome.
How many?
I'm excited about that.
At least 2?
About 5.
Oh, wow.
He's super.
Damn.
Oh my goodness. That is, he did, no, it's more like he said, yee.
Well, you're not supposed to be watching it.
Oh, my bad.
That was so good.
Alrighty. You guys ready?
Sure.
Let's kick her off.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Woo.
Welcome to Thunderheads. What just happened?
What did
Lost my hearing. This is a weird intro.
You're old.
If you're watching us on YouTube Live, we're psyched to have you. I'm Brandon Soul, joined by the Thunder Tie himself, our resident redneck. Today, it is Justin Wright.
Do your part around here. Save water. Drink beer.
That sounds like something Toby Keith would say.
It's not.
Who would have said that?
You guys aren't going to get it.
Oh, okay.
John
It's a
Denver.
It's a country.
Ooh,
No,
that
John
fella
Denver.
from Tombstone?
it is a country song. It's Save Water, Drink Beer by Chris Young.
Oh, he's the same person as
Yeah.
whoever you said.
Toby Keith?
Toby McGuire.
No, Toby
All
McGuire.
right.
Totally different person. Interesting person, though. We'll get into him later.
Yeah.
Doctor's in the house. It's been a while. Happy to have you. It's Rob Larson.
What's up, guys? It has been a while.
It has.
It's a little weird to be back in the chair. To
I'm
be honest with you.
happy that
strange?
you're here.
Thanks.
You nervous?
Yeah, I got extremely nervous right whenever it was like, okay, here we go. I was like, oh, God,
I forgot
I'm
how
very
to do
nervous.
this.
So I just talk then, I guess. I don't know what to do with my hands, but I'll talk.
That's
That's what we
it.
do. Dark and Stormy, who's drinking a Dark and Stormy,
Yes, sir.
looks a little like,
A little bit like urine, maybe.
maybe like,
Or I don't know what. Just
yeah.
dirty water.
like you have a disease and you peed in that.
I actually just stopped off at Flint, Michigan, and picked up a glass of tap water. So.
There you go. It's
Ooh,
Jason
political
Lewis.
burn.
I caught you right in the middle
Oh.
of your drink.
I said yes, sir, already.
Oh, you
but-
already did?
Yeah.
Well, that's my bad.
Yep.
Man, we got a fun show today. It's been a couple weeks, so I know we're psyched to be here. Just like we've been itching to get back. We're talking preseason today. It's just around. Man, it's next week, next Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it's the
I'm
3rd.
so excited for
Before-
basketball.
Before our next podcast, there's going to be a preseason.
Yes. It's exciting.
I don't know if that's hit me yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the rust surgery or I'm not sure. We'll get into all that. So yeah, preseason's just around the corner. That we're gonna really kind of touch on things that we need to be looking out for. Big question marks heading into this. We're not gonna get in too deep. We'll save that for the season preview, but we do want to have some things that we're gonna look out for in the preseason. We're gonna touch on the Jimmy Butler situation because that's a disaster.
Sure is.
And we got a couple games that are gonna be a blast lined up for you today. But first, Media Day was just the other day. The Presti presser last week. We hadn't had a chance to touch on this. And we definitely need to because I know we're going to have some unique takeaways here. We were there. It was a really cool experience for us. It was a lot of fun. Getting a little inside look at the team. Having a good idea of what to expect out of these guys. And Rob, I know you jotted down some things of your takeaways from this day, from Media Day in particular. I don't know if you're going to bring up anything from the Presti presser, but what stood out to you?
Well, from Media Day, just being there was such a cool experience. Something
Agreed.
that, like, we didn't realize how awesome it would be just standing,
Yeah.
walking right by these guys and just, I don't know, it's just really
Almost
cool.
like it was normal. It was strange.
Yeah, it was just, we were just expected to be there. I mean, it was like it wasn't weird or awkward. It was just a lot of fun to be a part of that. So that was really cool. One thing I was really interested in was to see kind of what Billy Donovan would say because that's really what this comes down to, right? Because we're still going to get into training camp. We still have to get through all of that. Practices are just starting. And so that was really what I was interested in, was to see what would Billy Donovan do.
Kind of what kind of outlook he had for the team.
Right, and what he would expect. I think that was kind of setting the tone for the season. This was the first step in that, is we would kind of see what is his mind frame. Would we figure out like who's going to start at the 4?
Right.
Would that come out? And so that was one of the biggest things that I was interested in seeing. And Billy was, I mean, he was pretty much non-committal for most of the stuff.
That's kind of what you'd expect, right, out of Billy?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know. Like I just said, they have to go through training camp. They're going to have a bunch of practices, and so I don't think it's fair to just have. He probably has somebody. He probably knows what he wants to do in his mind, but let's see how it all plays out. I think that's the safer bet.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. He didn't really give us anything, and that's interesting too, because he's normally a guy that's going to go on and talk for long periods of time. He didn't really do that at this particular press conference, which was interesting. The thing to me with Billy is he's got to be excited to just have this team.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, God, so many more new faces, so many more new egos. When you go back to last year, thinking about Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George coming,
With last year, he probably had a plan worked up, and he was all ready to go into training camp. And then all of a sudden that day, he's like, well, I got to change a lot of what I figured I was going to do.
Yeah, and then probably never really had a good opportunity to catch a groove last year. I mean, maybe that's something we never kind of gave him enough credit for. I don't know if credit's the right word, but didn't give him enough slack for.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he never had an opportunity.
I tried, guys,
Yeah.
One of the things that I found interesting about Billy was, like he said, during his time, he said that what they had lacked last year was consistency. That they needed to develop a playing style and develop an identity, because, which I found really interesting, was he made reference to the fact that they struggled against those teams that they should have been a lot better than on paper.
The under 500 teams.
Yeah. And so I found that really interesting. Like, that was what he sort of drew upon whenever he was talking about they didn't have an identity. Whenever you think you just roll guys out there and you should be able to beat certain teams, I kind of felt like that might affect them against better teams late in the game. But I just found it interesting that he brought it up against the lesser teams in the NBA, that was where he really thought that the Thunder struggled, was because they didn't have an identity.
So you think that's his focus?
That's what he said. That's what he said his main goal was going into training camp, was trying to
establish an identity.
An identity. Yeah.
Well, I think a really unsung thing here, and I kind of touched on it with you guys. Like, I wanted to discuss this before I brought it up. Was when's the last time you remember going into a media day where there wasn't some big, like, one of the top 3 players that was in a contract year? And so now you've got that continuity established. You feel so much better, and that's got to make Billy Donovan's job so much easier, just to go into it like, I know what I'm going to get out of my top 3 guys. So I can design an offense. I can design what I want on the court and talk about it with these guys. We can go through it with training camp, and I know exactly what to expect every single minute they're out there.
And he probably has some sort of alignment with the top guys on the roster as far as mindset goes. Yeah. With Russ.
He's had talks with them.
With Adams, with Paul George, as opposed to, like, maybe Melo comes into the picture last year, late, obviously, and like you said, Rob, like, he had his plan mapped out probably before Melo gets there, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, God, there's a new plan that has to go. And then Russ and PG, obviously, still at that point in their careers, are viewing Melo as a superstar. They still, to this day, are calling Melo a superstar. We all know on the court, Carmelo Anthony is not a superstar, and they found that out as the year went on. Yep. And Billy kind of knew that. But Billy, I mean, it's hard if you don't have the same mindset and the same idea of who the team is on the floor as your best players. It's probably going to be hard to establish that identity you're talking about. Now he's probably going to have that.
Right, and I actually think it's really nice that those are the things he kind of points to as their biggest flaw last year, because those are the things we kept talking about last year, and it makes me feel better that they're being realistic. And I mean, even going back to Sam's exit interview last year, where he addressed this isn't the season we wanted to have, obviously. We're not happy with what happened. And it's nice to just see them be honest and realistic with everyone, and not try to be like, well, we were fine, it's not a big deal. So it's nice to see them be honest.
Sure.
You almost had to live in this weird land of grandeur, and this aura of grandeur, having Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, where you not that you couldn't be realistic, but you almost didn't need to be because it's like, let's just let it play out. We've got these two guys that we didn't have before.
Right.
We've gotten, not that they were free agents, but big names to come in here for the first time in our franchise history. So you kind of just go through that season like, it'll play itself out. It'll play itself out. And now you can sit down and be like, no, it was not going to work. It just didn't have the tools to actually work out on the court. Now we know exactly what we have going into the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was what Paul George said during media day, was that everybody sort of just thought, like, you have all of this talent, supposedly, like you're so good on paper that it was just supposed to work. Like there wasn't going to be any growing pains, and he talked about that. He said how that's just not how it works. Mm-hmm. Like that was never going to be their best year was that first year. Mm-hmm. Right. Like this was going to be a process, which that was awesome to hear that he understood that. Like you didn't.
Right, because if I'm being honest, it still doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like you still had 82 games. You still had all those practices. You still had some time in the postseason. So, number one, it doesn't make complete sense to me to say that. But number two, I'm super thankful that that's how he views it because that's a big reason that he's back. Yeah. And he said that.
Ultimately, though, Media Day was, I think the ultimate takeaway from it was how uneventful it ended up being. Like what Justin was saying, that's the reason, right? We don't have any of these major questions other than who's going to start at the 4. Another big point was how will Russ and Schroeder fit? Like how will that work out? Those are really the only questions that you have during Media Day. And so that led to kind of I don't know, just probably a run-of-the-mill Media Day for the Thunder.
It was a little dull. You don't have questions about, I mean, you have who's going to start at the 4, but it's not like those options are Carmelo Anthony and another player. It's Patrick Patterson and Jeremy Grant. Which there's not drama around that.
Right. Which it was nice to see Pat's answer of just like, whoever wins the job, basically, I'm going to do, like, as long as I'm involved in the games and I'm helping the team, like, I don't really care.
And a positive role. Yeah. All he wanted was a positive role on this team.
Right, and that was really nice to see.
I think he has they kind of touched on that, is I think he has more opportunity for that. And then, as you said, Justin, there's no one in a contract here that's really that important. You have Alex Abrinas and I mean,
that's almost like
he's not important.
That's really just important for him. Like
important.
Performer, don't.
There's no one in there talking to Paul George saying, with everything going around the Lakers. But I mean, the players were available from 12:30 to 2:30. I don't know if I might be off on this, but it feels like in the past when I've watched live streams of Media Day, it's been like noon to 4. Like it's been forever, and I don't know if it was just kind of dull. But to me, that's a good sign, right? That's what this team needs. They need things around them
to just be normal.
And shout out to Brett Dawson, who wrote about this on The Athletic.
Yeah.
It was a good little article, good little write-up for him that just explained how this dull Media Day was a good thing for this team. This team needs something like that, something to build off of that's not Kevin Durant, not Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, not chaos. So
yeah, and there wasn't anything like last year. You had Carmelo coming in so late that it just changed everything. What you had planned in the offseason changed because of that, and that creates so many questions that you don't need as a basketball
team. As
if
if there weren't already going to be enough with just Paul George.
Right.
Like the whole concept of like, well, he's gone. Like everybody was coming in with the mindset, oh, well, he's just going to leave after this year. Like reporters, obviously, but and then on top of that, to throw the whole Carmelo thing on there, and then the whole bench, like the who me thing.
Yeah.
Like
and then you throw in like the narrative that no one likes to play with Russ, and then just everything that you can pull stories from those stories in any direction that you want, and now it's hard for people to really find those narratives because there's not much there. I mean, now you're kind of focusing on the Schroeder deal, maybe his legal issues, and then, like you said, Rob, can Schroeder and Westbrook coexist on the court? How's Nerlens Noel? It's like all positive things. How's Nerlens Noel going to fit in this offense?
Well, that's fun.
That's pretty cool that he chose Oklahoma City. Talk about that, Nerlens. It's no longer like...
Raymond Felton got demoted to third string point guard. Like, what is he going to do now?
Exactly.
And then his answer is just like, I just like to win. And it's like, oh, well, this is perfect.
I can't write a story on that.
All right.
I mean, but that's the cool thing, I guess. Now there's going to be so much positive press around the team, at least heading into the season. Obviously, if this team starts out how they did last year, that'll shift a little bit.
And one thing that I just noticed when we were standing out on the floor around the team is it feels like these guys all genuinely just like each other. They're like, they just seemed to have fun just standing around, just talking to each other, and they were all cutting up and laughing.
That's a good point, because last year, if you think about Media Day, everything's centered around the new big three. The Russ, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony.
It's not like that right
Take
now.
all these pictures together, guys. Do this. It wasn't like that. Now you're taking pictures it's like a Russ, Paul George, Adams, and Robertson. That's not exciting. You're not going to put that on the cover of a magazine. You're not, that's not making the cover of ESPN, the magazine, like Melo, Paul George, and Russ might.
Unless it does.
No chance.
No, it's not gonna.
Zero chance. Andre Robertson is in that photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're right. That's a really good point.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah,
Cool. Let's move on to preseason, because nice transit. That's just now that we're gonna use that as a transition going forward every single time. So we have the blue-white scrimmage on Sunday, which I don't know that we know a lot of details. It's at the Chesapeake Energy Arena, which is interesting.
It's very strange. It's like they're inviting.
I don't know if it's like open to the public. I really don't know. I haven't done my research.
I know some like OU medical people are getting in.
Yeah, with that,
they have the option to do
that.
That
Might be kind of the whole deal.
Yeah,
I guess. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Normally they match up the first stringers versus the second stringers. No Westbrook, obviously. But then the preseason, 3 days later, starts. You got the Pistons at home on Wednesday. So I want to ask you guys, what are some of the biggest things that you're going to be looking out for? Because there's some question marks. Like we said, I think they're mostly positive. They're not any like huge worrisome. I mean, you can say the Russ injury is worrisome. Obviously, he's probably going to miss the entire preseason. But aside from that, or even throw that in there, what are some things you're going to be looking out for in this preseason? Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, for me, I think a big thing just right at the start of the season is who's going to be standing in for Dre. And I kind of look at, okay, is Abrines going to stand out? T-Ferg, Nader, TLC, like which one of those guys is going to kind of like separate themselves, if any? And I'm just kind of curious to watch them kind of match up against each other. And
I'm glad you said that, because we could kind of throw that on our takeaways from media today too. Is that Dre basically said? I mean, it kind of sounds like he's not going to be ready for the start of the season.
I don't think he hasn't even started contact yet.
Right.
Well, he said that there was a difference between being ready to play and being ready to be an elite, being able to be his normal self.
Right.
And so he was the one that threw out the date of December, was saying that may be a possibility.
That's like his realistic goal, to be back to himself.
Right.
Not necessarily when he's going to get on the court,
Yeah.
but just the way he talks about it, wouldn't you say that it doesn't really feel like he's going to be back at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I would give him at least a couple weeks, maybe a month into the season before he's actually playing again. Because I mean, we've seen him shoot around in practice, and he seems to be moving fine. Like he's not he doesn't have a brace or anything that I could tell.
But if he's not moving like close to 100%, he's a guy that's kind of hard to put out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say whenever they do bring him back, I feel like he's gonna be in limited minutes or something like that,
right?
As he kind of works his way back in.
Any chance it's even off the bench?
Yeah, I think so.
Might as well work. Yeah, might as well work with it. I mean, you want to get Dre in meaningful minutes. You want to see him move around, especially that lateral movement with a patellar tendon tear.
Yeah,
you want to get that lateral movement to see what he can do defensively. Like that's so important. So
that's true.
You want to throw him out there, and if it's off the bench, it's off the bench.
Yeah, like if you're playing the Rockets, I'm not trying to throw him out there
like
in his third game
James.
back. Yeah. Oh, you got James, man. You good with this? Yeah.
Well, and that's the same thing they keep saying about Russ and Dre. They're not going to rush these guys back for no reason. Like there's no point in doing it right.
These guys.
No.
Okay, back, but like that ties in with what you're saying. So do you feel like these guys, these wings, are going to be competing, or do you feel like Billy kind of already has that idea of who he wants to start in place of Dre, like ideally?
I mean, maybe in his head it's Abrines, but I don't know. And I feel like they are going to be trying to, especially Nader and TLC, like they're kind of the new guys in that whole group. And I think they're going to be kind of going at I don't know if they'll go at each other or Abrines or however that'll work, but
they'll all be going at each other, I would assume.
Yeah, trying to show themselves.
But that's cool. Like that's a good opportunity for those guys that, we talked about it a lot this summer, that young just array of wings you have on the bench. A good opportunity for them to elevate one another and kind of get each other ready to play heading into the season.
Hopefully, though. I mean, we've seen where, like Josh Eustace, like there were hope for other guys. We had Jeremy Lamb.
Sure.
Like we hoped that would work out, and Josh Eustace. And I would say that this is a level higher. Like the expectation obviously is higher for these guys, but it's still an unknown.
At least offensively.
That
I
will
would
be
say.
a lot of fun to watch through the preseason and through training camp to see how, like, does one of those guys sort of step up, exceed the other one a little bit just to get a little bit of playing time.
And that would be one of my things that I'm going to look for too, is that initial wing rotation from Billy Donovan in the preseason. What's it going to look like? Like, even without Andre Robertson, it's going to be interesting. Then you throw in Andre Robertson, it gets even more interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of what is he going to be doing? Is he going to be, like, how is he rotating guys in and out, and what's that look like once they get into the games?
It's always hard to say how much you can take away from the preseason. But remember when Domantas Sabonis was a rookie, and he played with the starters at the blue-white game, and a lot of people were kind of saying, I think Sabonis might start, and a lot of other people were saying, no chance. It's going to be whoever else was on that team. I don't even remember. There was Joffrey Laverne.
Yeah.
There was one that was...
We didn't have him then, no? Did we?
Yeah.
At the start of the season?
Yep, at the start of the season.
I don't remember that.
No, there was...
too long ago.
Who else was it? Why are we losing this? Oh, no.
We've already blocked it out in our minds.
No,
Ersan Ilyasova.
that's the one.
Yeah, but he got
traded.
traded three games in.
Yep.
But I think a lot of people thought it was going to be him, and it was, and it ended up being Sabonis. Whatever. But it seems like Billy Donovan goes into these things with an idea of what he wants to do.
Right.
Now, whether that or not that plays out.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of what Rob alluded to is, he's probably got an idea in his head, and then once he actually sees the guys work together and maybe tries a couple different things out, maybe somebody stands out more than he expected. And
So is
that
there
changes
somebody
his
that
mind.
you kind of think will? Or is there somebody that you like? TLC, Nader, is there somebody...
I think what Billy hopes for is it's going to be one of, if not, obviously you hope for both, Ferguson and Abrinas. I think that's what he would hope for.
Yeah. I actually have quite a bit of hope for TLC. Just he got starting minutes with Philly and apparently looked all right when he was starting. I'm a little worried because what I've heard, I remember Eric Horn and Brett talking about this on the Thunder Buddies stuff because they were talking with the 76ers guy about how whenever he was starting, he did really well. But then whenever his minutes, when he was coming off the bench and his minutes were unsure,
He had that
kinda
Abrinas effect.
He got nervous and, didn't really feel himself. So,
And, I mean, this is going to be a kind of a rough environment for these guys going into the preseason because it is a competition. You're trying to, like, guys like TLC, guys like Diallo even, Nader, even Abrinas and Ferguson, if you want to throw them in there. These are guys that are going to be fighting for the 15 minutes a night. Like, I just want 15 minutes a night, man. And some of them, two of those guys are going to come out with 0 minutes a night when you go into the regular season.
That room is full.
Yeah.
So just to kind of cherry pick on this whole thing, like, because I do like TLC.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the guy early on because I'm still worried about Abrinas, but I think the biggest thing for me as far as wing rotation is how they communicate, how they move without Dre as the defensive anchor as the wing. So obviously, like, Steven Adams still has a lot to do as far as growth in his own game as being the defensive anchor on the back end. But how the wings are able to communicate, move, communicate on picks, be able to just be in the right spot at the right time, I think that's the most important thing that I'm looking for as far as the wings go. And I think that's a huge advantage for TLC because he's been there, he's played that defense, he's been a starter. I think he's got the most to gain from a group of guys that don't quite have the same sort of experience that he does.
We can't sleep on Abdul Nader, right?
I mean,
he came through. He said he got the ulna fracture fixed, which if you guys want me to break this down a little bit,
Please
as
do.
the doctor,
Yeah,
everybody knows there's two bones in the forearm, obviously.
the forearm
Yeah,
is what it's.
most adults break both. He was 16. He only broke one. He broke the ulna.
Which
not
one is that? Which one?
It's the It's the one that's on the bottom of the hand
Okay.
here.
The pinky bone.
not the radius.
Inside's your radius.
He didn't break the radius.
That's very good.
And the humerus was fine too. The one that comes down to your funny bone. It's my life basically.
Yeah, I mean,
so, but I do think
I'm sure it's painful talking about it right now.
Yeah.
It's like want to get it out of your head.
yeah. But I do think that, like, you could make the case for any of those guys coming through. You said, like, hopefully Ferguson. That's the biggest one for me. Like, I really hope you can see, like, a really big positive step from Ferguson. I don't know.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if we should expect that early on in the season, but as the season goes on, you just hope he continues to progress. And I don't know. I don't want to say I've given up on Abrinas, but it's hard.
You don't have faith in him.
Yeah, he's the hardest one for me to have faith in, just because of what we saw last year.
Lots of ups and downs from
Yeah.
him. And, like, his ups are higher than any of these other guys' ups have been, I think. But his downs have been, like, you can't have this guy on the court.
Yeah.
Well, especially with Robertson coming back. Like, if Abrines is effective with Robertson out, whenever Robertson comes back, that just intensifies what you need because, like, if he's starting to hit threes consistently, you're going to be golden at that point.
So let me ask you guys a question. What is more important for Abrines to see minutes? Consistent playable defense or consistent playable offense?
I think for him to be on the floor, it's his defense.
I agree.
Like, he's got to be able to stay there, even if he's not getting shots. Like, be useful. And if you can be useful and at least hold your own defensively and not just your guys just running past you all the time and you're having to foul him all the time, like, he can get a shot. He's good enough at shooting that I don't have to worry about it.
The problem is Schroeder going to be able to find him in preseason? The way Russ always makes it a point to find him.
I'm going to go the other way, though. I think offensively, like, he has to be consistent offensively. You can get by on defense. Like, you can hide him enough, I think, on defense, especially with other, bench players that he's going to be playing against. I think you can get by as long as he's hitting shots and the Thunder get him shots. Like, if he's out there, you have to, like, let him shoot the ball.
And that's another thing we had touched on a little last year was when Ferg was out there, he was just getting open looks all the time, and Abrines seemed to not be able to do that.
Well, they also, in fairness to Abrines, I think the defenses were respecting Abrines more than they respect Ferguson. So, but
that's something he has to work around.
Sure,
like,
definitely.
you have to get yourself open a little.
Yeah, there's elite shooters that have the ability to get open, even though the defense is almost entirely centered around stopping them from, like JJ Redick. Think about him.
Yeah,
literally all you got to do is stop him from shooting. Getting open looks, but yet he's still able to do it. It's
super hard to do that because he's running around all the time.
He runs all the time, yeah.
Right, and obviously Alex Abrines is not J.J. Redick, but
it'd be cool if he was.
But the interesting thing that I think that actually that conversation ties to is who does Billy start at the 4? Now, this is a conversation we've beaten into the ground, obviously, who's going to start at the 4, but we all believe it's Patrick Patterson. Well, now I kind of think that things could change just because Andre Robertson will be gone for the preseason, presumably. Now, how does this work? Is Billy Donovan going to start Patterson and insert someone in that shooting guard spot based on his fit alongside Patterson? Or is he going to say, well, without Andre Robertson, I think Jeremy Grant's the better option to have in there as a versatile defender, guy that is probably a little more switchable than Patrick Patterson, better on-ball defender, I would say, as far as his length goes. Right. And then maybe start a more offensive skill guy like Abrines.
So my thought here is, one, because Russ is if Russ is healthy, I think it changes my answer completely. But since Russ is out, I think you can roll the dice with Jeremy Grant and have that other wing to kind of start, because you're already getting 3 out of your 5 pieces of what your bench is going to look like. That's what you want to strengthen the most. You're not too worried about Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook and Paul George being on the floor, especially when Dre comes back. That 4 kind of becomes a little bit interchangeable depending on how Jeremy Grant's shot looks as it progresses through the season. I think you go ahead and roll the dice with Jeremy Grant, knowing that you're getting that bench look already. Get them as much chemistry as possible rolling into when the season finally kicks off.
That's an interesting take. Like, it's an interesting perspective coming from that way, because I can totally see that, and I can see it from the other way too, where you're like, well, I'd like to get my starters, guys I know I want starting, and I feel comfortable on the floor, even though Russ isn't there, and I want to get those sets going. I want to get them in some sort of muscle memory kind of
he has it in his head that he wants ultimately Pat to start with the main starting unit. I think it would be good to start him with Adams just so they can kind of get more comfortable, because he didn't get a lot of playing time with him or PG. I mean, he got some with PG because of him running the bench unit, which was not successful.
No, that worked out.
I kind of came away from Media Day feeling a little bit different about the situation, because Billy talked about how good Patterson is to continue to move the ball around. Like, it doesn't stop with him. And I feel like that's a really key component whenever you talk about the Thunder bench is not getting the ball to those guys who are going to stop it, the ball gets to them and it's just going to end there. And so I kind of felt like it seemed like that would be a great role for Patterson, was to come off the bench. He doesn't have to play the 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you've kind of come off of this a little bit. You don't think it's set in stone that it's...
No, I definitely don't think it's set in stone. I don't think Billy Donovan has decided.
Mm-hmm.
It made a lot of sense to think about Patterson playing with the starters just because he can stretch the floor more than you would trust him more to shoot those threes than you would Grant. But that's not to say Grant hasn't been working in the offseason to be able to do that. And maybe Billy will see something during training camp and these practices where he says, I feel confident enough that he's going to be able to stretch the floor, give Adam space in the middle.
And maybe that goes back to something Presti was talking about a lot in his press conference where he said, you know what, I would like to have more shooting on this team, but the fact is we don't.
Right.
It's like, but it comes down, when you're building your roster, it comes down to, does the strength of shooting in guys outweigh the weaknesses that they have, that the guys we have on our roster, the strengths that they have?
He talked about if you bring somebody else in, you have to also make up. If you can't just get somebody who's a better shooter, you have to make up for what you're also losing as well.
Right, which Presti loves to kind of just solidify defense, length, rebounding, the little the fundamentals, the guys that are going to do the dirty work.
Shooting gets better over time.
Yeah,
every player, like for the most part, they get better as they get older. They shoot better. You don't get better defensively usually.
Yeah.
So you want to solidify that early with young guys, and you can work on the shooting.
Let's get on. Get on.
Let's
get on.
Let's
like
get
we're
it
about
on.
to go horseback riding. Let's get on.
You guys remember Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yeah.
That was a great show.
So good.
Let's get it on.
So good. I want to do a game.
Let's do it.
So we haven't done this one in a while.
It's been a minute, and I'm excited.
Hit it.
Legitimate or preposterous?
All right, legitimate or preposterous. You guys know how this works, and if you don't know how it works, you'll catch on. I'm gonna read I say you'll catch on, and then I'll tell you how it works right after I tell you. We're just gonna read a statement. These guys are gonna tell me if that statement is legitimate or if that statement is preposterous. Number 1, trading for Jimmy Butler would be a mistake if you're not the Nets, Clippers, or Knicks, which were obviously his first 3 teams that he preferred. The teams that will.
Well, he also threw Miami.
Yeah.
In there.
Lately.
That's how
I mean, lately, recently. Yeah.
Recently he did. Oh, you just were only doing the first.
Right, because they're the ones that have cap space. I mean, teams that he would likely re-sign with, it would be a mistake for any other team to trade for him.
Who are we doing?
Anyone.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to say preposterous. I think, I mean, I don't want to lean too heavily on what happened with Paul George, but I think any team right now, you see what the Raptors are doing, any team is going to take a chance on that good of a player. I think if you're like Miami or a team like that, I don't know. I mean, I guess it helps you, but also what are you going to do with them, with what you got?
That's my whole thing with Jimmy Butler. Like, is he good enough to do this for? Like, that's what I'm more like, to really take this chance, because does Jimmy Butler move the needle for your franchise? Like, if you have a guy like Russell Westbrook, like the Thunder did, already in place, then you can take a shot at a guy like Jimmy Butler and go all in. But like Miami Heat, I mean, like, especially if you have to part with some of your young guys.
Yeah, it makes it weird for them. But I mean, I feel like if you're the Knicks, like you were saying, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But like, I don't know. I mean, Phoenix had talked about it, but everybody that's tried to trade for him so far has just been like, no way.
Yeah.
They're acting like me in fantasy basketball and trying to trade 5 dudes for one guy.
That's because they don't want to trade him, right?
Yeah.
They want him.
Yeah. They want him to change his mind.
Well, Thibodeau doesn't want to trade him. Ownership does want to trade him.
Slightly delusional.
I mean, it is crazy. Like, you can't. No one's gonna trade the farm for Jimmy Butler, who came out first thing that Woj reported that, I want to go to the Clippers, Nets, or Knicks.
I mean, that really does hurt.
But the only reason the Heat, wouldn't you say that the only reason that he's saying the Heat is because the Timberwolves took to him and his agent and said, look, here's our best trade options.
Right.
And we want to get back the best package for you. The Heat were one of those, and he said, you know what, I'll go to Miami. And he's probably like kind of tentatively planning on ditching out.
Yeah.
After the year, maybe they won him over. You know, like the Paul George deal did. Like, he was probably still planning on going to L.A. when he went to Oklahoma City, but
absolutely legitimate. Don't sell your oxen to buy a plow.
yeah.
Like, you're going to give up too
Been
much.
playing too much Oregon Trail there, bud.
You are fitting this role to a T. I love it.
So you don't want to give up too much just to have Jimmy Butler, and he could walk at that point. There's just no point in doing it. And plus, if you're one of those teams where if the 3 that he wants to go to falls through, you're going to end up getting him at a bargain price because he's just going to be a locker room distraction the entire time that he's there in Minnesota. So wait it out if you can. And you know what? If you don't end up with him, you might be avoiding a complete buzzsaw.
It does feel like he's not handling the situation the best.
He's handling it horribly.
Like, bro, you're Jimmy Butler. Like, you're good. You're really, really good, but you're not. What do you think you are? I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Jimmy Butler, but
he's really, really good.
He's really good, but he's not
Kawhi.
LeBron James. Like, he's not. Yeah, he's not these guys that.
He sure is acting a lot like Kawhi right now.
And he's not that. At least in my opinion. I just don't think he's that.
I mean, he's what, top 15?
I'd say
because he's not top 10.
He's somewhere between 10 to 15, probably. Maybe 10 to 18, probably 10 to 15.
I say preposterous.
Yeah.
Like, I think you still have to take a chance. The Heat, like the Heat, you look at the Heat, like they're already, like the whole Hassan Whiteside thing, like that's already a mess. So throw a little bit of gasoline on it and Jimmy Butler.
Why not light the whole motherfucker on fire?
It's gonna happen, you know.
Next, this roster is the best one the Thunder has ever assembled. Legitimate or preposterous?
Legitimate.
Oh, coming in hot. Yeah. Said I'm getting in before everyone.
Oh yeah.
Is this recency bias?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Or just flat out bias.
Doesn't matter if it's recent or way before.
Most certainly bias.
Yeah.
So do you actually have reasoning, or you just want to come in with that?
No, I just wanted to come in hot with that.
Okay.
That made it so much better.
Rob,
No,
what do you think?
no.
Preposterous?
Yeah, this is preposterous.
So what do you have ahead? Do you think?
Maybe
what's that?
Russ, KD, James Harden.
Yeah.
It's a pretty solid group.
I mean, it was like now, especially, but like
looking
think
at
about
it now, but I would think even like that the 13-14 team, or I mean the year that whenever they should have beaten
Golden State,
the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I mean
that team was amazing.
I think the reason that I even made this a question was this bench. When you have Dennis Schroeder,
I thought you said this bitch. I was like, wait, what?
yeah. Then when you have Dennis Schroeder, Nerlens Noel coming off your bench, Jeremy Grant potentially coming off your bench, Alex Abrinas, obviously he's Alex Abrinas, we don't know, but those 3 guys, Jeremy Grant, Noel, Schroeder, that's some weaponry that maybe this bench has never ever had.
Yeah, I'm gonna say preposterous right now. I'm not saying that it can't get to be that like through the season.
That's what you're saying. You're saying this team isn't that good.
Oh,
Facts.
You know what?
You're here first.
You know what?
you heard it first. Jason hates the team.
You guys don't get to hang out with me when I'm watching the championship parade next year.
Ooh.
I also do wonder,
That's pretty hurtful.
Like how much
guys
of
totally
it,
invited.
because this season is done, right? I mean,
It's over.
the Warriors
What? Already?
We just started.
The Warriors
We haven't
adding
played a game.
Cousins is
It does make
whatever.
it rough.
You're playing for,
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
but I do wonder, like, for me, does that affect my answer in thinking, well, they're not going to win a championship,
Yeah.
and so I don't know.
I don't know about that.
That's fair.
Certain people could break all their legs. I don't know.
Next, legitimate or preposterous, Sam Presti will stay aggressive on the trade market this season.
I think it depends on what you mean by stay.
That's not how the
aggressive.
game works.
It's either you
Because
legitimate or preposterous.
Because making a trade is one thing. Making a trade that has impact on this team is another. I think if it's making an impact on this team, it's preposterous. I think the goal is to have continuity, and they want to see what the guys here can do. And so that's why I think anything of actual impact to this team is not happening. I think this is what they want to go with.
You want a cop-out answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Give it to me.
Legitimate. Is he going to make any moves? Probably not. But his job is to stay completely active.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be on the phone all the damn time. That's just what he does. And that's what's so special about Sam Presti. I'm not saying he's going to make a move. And I know it's, like I said, it's a cop-out answer. But I think he's going to be consistently looking at how can I make this team better? What can I do?
Sure.
Is there a guy available? And I think Sam Presti is really good at his job.
Yeah.
I'm going to concur with Justin.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Words.
I think that's probably the right answer. But I do just wonder if, along with all the players and even Billy Donovan being able to exhale and the fans being able to exhale when you have Paul George locked up for 3 years and you have Russell Westbrook locked up for the next 4 or 5 years or whatever it is, Steven Adams locked up for the next 2 to 3, whatever it is. You have a core, maybe like you said, Rob, it's the continuity, and you don't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next, maybe you want to see a season play through. I don't know. And then go from there. But at the same time, sorry, I'm hanging on this.
I thought we were going next. I was like, this is a real weird question to be asking.
Russell Westbrook is going to be 30 this season. You know, like.
But he's also a Terminator.
Once you feel like that's true, but once you feel like you can just chill, then you realize, oh my God, we can't.
Yeah, we can't chill at all.
There's this also.
Yeah, there's the future to think about all the time.
Yep.
At what point do you look at Sam Presti and you think, oh yeah, he's totally a guy that rests on his laurels? Absolutely not. He's not going to do that.
They're already thinking like 5 and 10 years ahead.
Yeah,
I
That's
think.
fair. Next, legitimate or preposterous. You're a fan of the new city uniforms, at least the mock-ups of them.
Legitimate. I really like them. I like the concept. I like the ideas. I think they could have used some of the imagery that they use from like especially Native American. Like I was a Native American Studies minor for a little bit. I took a bunch of classes like at OU, and it was like just what? Oh yeah, I always do. I always do. So yeah, no, just taking those classes and seeing that imagery and some of the things that all these tribes use, especially the black, the white, the red, and the yellow, representing the 4 seasons, 4 colors, like seeing that on the jerseys, the sharp lines, and that, like, I like the imagery and the symbolism that's on those jerseys. It could have been executed a little bit better, in my opinion, but I do really like them, and especially what they stand for.
So you're more about the idea behind them, really into that, and the jerseys are pretty okay.
Yeah, they could have been. They could have been better. That's
correct.
It's a step in the right direction.
I'm like upsetly.
That's not the game.
Legitimate.
Okay.
I'm putting a little.
There's no
accentuator on there.
There's no that.
There's no that. It's only this. The person who's in charge of the fonts just needs to quit it.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't mind the blocky OKC on it.
Just the weird black background like stroke that they put on them.
And I don't even mind that.
Strange.
But it needs to match the number.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't match the number. The number they just keep from all the other uniforms. It's like, well, go all in or
don't.
Or just don't do it at all.
If they had done something with sharper lines where you play off that diamond, the sharp points and the angles, that would have been perfect.
I will say that I think the shorts are really badass.
The shorts are really cool.
The waistband's really cool, and I like the back, like what's on the background, just kind of the subtle across the chest.
And I'm going to say they're way better than last year's city uniforms because those were
garbage.
I agree.
And I'm also happy. This year this is preposterous. I don't like them at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like them. And that's cool. All of those reasons that's fine.
But they still look like they still look like they look.
I don't like them. So
when I first saw them, I didn't like them, and then when I saw like the whole concept kind of put out, I liked them a little more. But they missed the mark by a hair for me. But I don't hate them. I don't hate them. Next. The crowds at the peak this season will rival those of the 2011 and 2012 days. Legitimate or preposterous?
No, I say preposterous. It's just hard, right? Because it is. This is the 11th season.
I mean, this was a tough question. Like I didn't expect legitimates here, but I didn't know if anyone was going to go out there on a limb and be like, you know what? I think there's some rejuvenation within the fan base.
I could say legitimate.
Oh no!
I
think you
like
you go really high for some.
I'm That's
how you know he doesn't.
Oh God! Breaking everything.
He doesn't believe what he said himself.
He said, "Somebody believe this because I'll go high."
Good. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, we'll go to the next one. So, I mean, except for Jason, we're all preposterous here. It's just
until they're really good, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh."
You're just never going to be able to match that, though, right? Because it was just so new, it was so fresh, it was so young.
Those back-to-back seasons were so magical and so amazing. Those teams were so good. It's hard to.
Is there any chance that you could?
Look, if they're pushing 60 games, like 60 wins this season, then yeah, there's absolutely a chance. It's an outside chance. It's a possibility, but it's not a high one.
Fair. Next, at least 2 of the Thunder's big 3 of Westbrook, George, and Adams will have career seasons statistically. Legitimate or preposterous?
Legitimate. Yeah. No, one, you've got to fill in the gap for Melo from scoring. I think a lot of that comes from Paul George. Steven Adams, we've been waiting for him to make that jump.
He's had a career year every year of his career.
Yeah, no, but I want to see the big one. The one where you finally...
Big.
Yeah.
Wait, if there's a big jump for Adams this year, that's going to be huge.
I think it's...
I mean, you think about it.
I think it's been on the horizon, though.
Wow.
Just the way he's... The dude's 25. He's 25 and
It's so crazy.
he's already played at that level his entire career.
He looks
He's
125.
He's gotten so much better every single year. He's due for a big jump. He's not even in his prime yet.
I think he also might be due to plateau a little bit, though. Like, I could...
What
Like,
is he, Serge Ibaka?
Hmm?
What is he, Serge Ibaka?
He's...
Where
Steven
Serge's
Adams.
plateau... No. But Serge plateaued
do
and then
with it
fell
at all.
off.
Yeah, no, I just think whenever you see a progression like that every year, I don't know that you're going to get the huge jump that you would in say like a second year, which is typically typically you would see that second year would be a huge jump.
Sophomore slump.
And so
This is what Sam talked about with
for a
Steve.
center.
I also think that he's a little bit capped off by just the way the NBA is, the way it's trending towards.
true.
Like, I mean, his skill set doesn't necessarily make him have the ability to just all of a sudden break out. Like, what does he do to break out? Like, what more can he possibly do to really have a breakout? Like, just that huge jump. Like, you know what I mean? What would it be? Is he going to score 5 more points a game? Well, how are those points coming? Are you feeding him in the post and he's going to work?
Isn't he also what? Like, he's at best the fourth option probably most of the time, and so I don't know.
I mean, a lot of his points are what? He's probably scores 8 points a game off offensive rebounds. Then,
Yeah.
8 points. Well, or maybe let's say 6 points a game off offensive. 6 points a game off just lobs at the rim, dumps down from Westbrook. I don't know.
Guess he's gonna start shooting some threes.
You know where he can really elevate his game? Shoot your damn free throws better.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Knock
the
down
spot.
70% of them.
Threw damn in there. Like, that's serious. Dad.
Mad.
All right, Dad.
Big mad about it. Big time
Big
mad.
man.
about it.
That's words.
But the other two, you think? I mean, the Paul George one makes complete sense to me,
Yeah.
and I think
Russ, it's hard. It's hard to say that, but
Sure.
there are certain categories that he might be able to make that jump.
yeah. I mean, if he shoots 35% from three,
Yeah.
turns the ball over a little less than he has in the past, shoots not 73% from the free throw line, something like that.
Paul George seems the most likely to.
Yeah.
me.
So I was just about to ask that. We're all expecting that, right?
Yeah.
I think to see consistency out of Paul George is
So
what
that's
I'm
our
looking for.
that's our
Especially if
one.
Russ misses time, like you would expect.
But that's our
early.
one thing that we're probably setting ourselves up for
Super
extreme
failure, yeah.
disappointment. Like, if he comes out and he's just not what everyone's kind of expecting him to be this year, especially with Melo out of his way and him with just his season under his belt.
But if he does, though,
That's true. That's a good point.
that's exciting.
I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, boy.
Oh, last one.
Dropping 45 game
Oh.
one. Opening night, 45 for Paul George.
Rob, this one's good for you because we kind of kicked off the podcast with this one. Legitimate or preposterous? Of all the people that contribute to the Thunder's success, Billy Donovan is under the most pressure this season.
Oh, I 100% agree
Yeah.
with that.
Legitimate.
Legitimate. Yeah.
That's the game.
This is 100% agree or 0% agree,
Well,
right?
yeah,
No,
well, yeah.
definitely legitimate. Like,
That's correct.
That's a correct, Bill.
that's our producer there, Jason Lewis. So.
Hitting wrong buttons.
But there
That's
were
on me.
people. I thought that there was a chance, like Billy was already on the hot seat last year because of how poorly, like whenever you fizzle out.
And how 100% of people wanted him fired?
Yeah,
That
and
didn't help his case.
So, like, I do think that he's and it's the easiest way to do it, right? It would be the coach that you would change because you're not going to change the players in drastic ways.
I mean, the roster looks great, so
Yeah.
I would agree with you on that. That's why I put it as a question. You guys agree with Rob on that one?
I concur.
Billy under the most pressure? What about Sam Presti? Candidate here?
No.
No?
Hard to
He's
imagine.
done an amazing job, and
Fair.
he's here forever.
All right. Before we move on,
Oh.
this is a game that I planned.
Right.
And Justin's going to host over here. So, you know what? Let's just hit it. You ready, Jason?
Ready.
Hit it.
Oh, I like it.
Rob just got so excited.
Folks, fun just walked right through your front door.
Yeah.
It's the game so we get everyone off their feet. It's time for Guess That Shoe Size.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Justin Wright, and I'm a shoe size 10.5. For all you Europeans playing along with us at home, that's a 44.5.
Oh,
Wow.
God, that gets way bigger.
Yeah.
That feels
So
way
your
more
feet
cool.
are bigger in Europe when
Absolutely.
you go.
It's like when you
I
go to
want
the
that.
moon, you weigh less. Or more.
Interesting.
One of the two. It's like that.
I'll explain to you that to you later.
Okay.
Today's battle.
Gravity, bro.
Today's battle is between the timidly tenacious, tentatively titillating, tumultuous techie. It's Jason.
Techie.
I don't know how you pulled that off. That was
That
impressive.
was very nice.
And in this corner, his fanatical and fearsome, fastidiously fervent foe, it's Rob.
Hello. Don't boo.
It's very anticlimactic when it's one syllable name. Rob.
Robert.
Yeah, there you go.
It's overt confidence versus timid skittishness. Who will take that step forward to step toward victory?
Wow.
The rules, as always, are simple. I'll name a famous footy, and you guess the size of shoe. Buzz in by saying your shoe size before your opponent does.
This is already my favorite game.
This is the best.
In the entire.
What's
in
the
entire
buzzer?
podcast.
Your
Your shoe size.
You gotta listen to the goddamn direction.
I
No,
just
there's
explained
no
the rules.
There's no buzz. You just both guess.
Definitely said buzz. I
Okay,
wish
we'll
you would
do that
listen.
then.
Oh, did you say buzz? I wasn't listening.
I did say
I wish
buzz.
you would listen.
I kind of took a little bit of a freedom of.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, my bad. I
artistic
didn't hear.
license
I
with
didn't hear you said that. I just didn't assume that it was necessary.
Sorry I listened, Justin.
If you
Sorry
get,
about that.
If you get it right, you get a point, and you're a foot closer to victory. But if you can't fit that slipper on our Celebrity Cinderella, your opponent has a shot to run away with the tally. Ready? Let's go.
We didn't let us answer.
So I am buzzing, or I'm just saying my shoe size?
What's your shoe size?
10.5.
10.5. Okay. Rob.
11.
11. We've got 10.5. We've got 11. Let's go. NBA.
I'm a 10.
NBA.
Small hands, too.
I'm just going to ask the question without you guys knowing.
Let's go.
NBA All-Star Paul George.
10.5.
Jason.
13.5.
That is incorrect.
11.
Ooh, that is also incorrect.
Wait, I thought I had to buzz in.
Oh, okay. Well,
So it's not
14.
you had a chance to steal, but you couldn't pull it off. It's actually
Wait, what?
No, go ahead.
Did I
Go ahead.
guess?
it's actually just a size 12.
Ooh.
Okay, so
I'm almost PG.
so just to clarify to the listeners and me, they're buzzing in with their own shoe
With
size.
their own
yes.
shoe size.
Can we
He
do
got
a-
confused by
Can we
my
do a
shoe
system
size.
where whoever's closer gets the point at least, so someone will score? It's
We
gonna
can
be-
start that in question 2, I think. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
start
that sounds
Yeah,
like a
that's-
good. We don't do
okay.
it in
I like that.
question 1.
That way someone gets a point
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough. Okay, cool.
All right.
I don't mean to intervene, but
That is a little shocking though. A 12 for Paul George seems like
I just have to get this in. Privio 3 just said, I'm procrastinating a grad school paper for this. Love it.
I love
great life decision.
Very good choice.
He's just sitting there listening to me uke it up. All right, moving on. International sportsman Yao Ming.
Oh.
10.5.
What do you got, Jason?
17.
Ooh.
Wait,
Might as well go with both answers this time. Rob, you can go.
Oh, 11. 17 and a half.
Ooh. If we're going to go with closest, Rob's going to go ahead and Price is Right the hell out
Yes,
of you.
I did.
It's a size 18.
Ooh, you guys are really
There you
close.
go.
That's
I knew it
Rob
was going to
won.
be big.
Rob 1, Jason 0.
I don't like
Okay,
that.
so
0.
Rob, you're going to get the first answer here so that Jason can
Wow, this
Price
seems-
is Right the hell out of you if you want
Okay.
to.
And guys, I found my role within this game. I'm the scorekeeper.
Okay.
Oh, I like
And
it.
the hype man.
And how about now? Can I go ahead and amend it? No more buzzing
gonna-
in with your own.
Yeah.
Your own shoe
very
size.
Yeah,
confusing.
Because
yeah,
I
we'll
keep
just-
thinking it's your guesses.
So we'll just go back and forth then.
We'll
Okay.
just go back and forth.
Okay.
No, it's the first time.
Yeah, first time.
First time.
First time
First
around
time,
here.
long time stuff.
Rob,
Yeah.
you're going to go first for celebrity Ben Stiller.
Ooh. Seems to be a small size. I will go with a 9.
Jason, what do you have?
9.5.
Ooh, that's Price is right there. He's a size 10.
Oh, dang it.
And he ties up the game.
All right.
That's
all right.
1-1.
1-1.
All right, 1-1.
Gotta
All
go.
right.
This is my favorite
Jason.
thing ever. Yeah.
Jason, you've got the first answer on this one. Mostly unimportant person, Kevin Durant.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
Victory?
That's close. I
That's-
bet that's close.
That sounds like the correct answer
I'll
to me.
say I'll say he's got the old size 14.
Jason, could I get a clarification on your own answer?
Wait, so now he gets to go second?
It's because my answer was so good.
These rolls.
Let's go 14.5.
Oh
okay, you know what? No, neither of you actually get the question right. The reason is because snakes don't have feet.
Oh!
Damn it!
Ooh, trick question.
Oh, I should
Yeah.
have continued on with the way I was going.
You
is
were
what
on the right
saying.
path. You were on the right
Jason, back to you, since that was a trick question the entire time. First man on the moon, Neil Armstrong.
Are we
path.
talking
Astronaut boots?
Are we talking space boots or regular shoes? Because that's a big difference. I heard he weighs so much less when he gets up.
Why did we do this?
This is so good. I do think that
I'm going to go with a 10.
Rob, what do you have?
Space boots.
I'll take him for the 10.5.
Oh, Rob, you Price is Right your way out of it this time.
Yeah!
It's a 9.5.
Oh, I went the wrong way.
now scorekeeper is. I wasn't high five, but I will. Two Jason, 1 Rob.
Collusion?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't high fiving him, but then I think I tricked
Can't leave him
into think-
hanging.
Yeah, and he looked like a doofus on the video.
Doofus, huh?
Atif said you robbed me.
Because you're Rob.
Yeah.
I robbed Rob.
All right, Rob, back to you. Famous short man, current NBA player, Isaiah Thomas.
Ooh, I'll go ahead and say that he was the old 9.
I'm going to go 8.5.
Oh wow.
Wow, so this is going to set up perfectly because it's a size 12.
The
Rob
fuck?
gets the point.
Yeah.
That's
Got
crazy.
big feet?
He probably has to, right? Like, there's not going to be a 5'9" dude with like size 7.5 in the NBA. But in
I'm
the
not
NBA,
in the NBA, but
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I'm
Paul
pretty close.
George though has the same size.
This is very confusing.
That's
I
probably
think
like-
he was stuffing. He was stuffing those shoes with socks.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
He just wants to have the big basketball players.
Well, guys,
Yeah.
you know what they say about guys with big feet.
Nope.
And
I have an
for the win,
Oh,
Jason, starting with you.
Wait, so what's the score?
2-2.
It is 2-2.
2-2. Oh, yeah.
Tie ball game for the win.
I'm so stressed about this.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Most valuable player, Russell Westbrook.
Oh,
13.5.
oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Uh-oh.
You got to pick something different now.
Yeah.
That's a good number. I'll go 13.
Oh, Rob, you lost. Jason gets the win. Russell Westbrook at a size 15.
Nice. Damn, that's
Some big feet.
impressive,
Woo!
Russell.
Big feet.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have. Congratulations to our winner, Jason.
Boo.
You're welcome, everyone.
You did
Thanks.
great.
Thanks for watching. And remember, always put one foot in front of the other.
That was very good. Also, I just got to congratulate Justin on an amazing
Yeah, that
hosting
was so
job.
good.
That was
Good
incredible.
job, Justin.
That was amazing, and we will for sure do that again in the future.
Do you like my Bob Euchre voice?
That was
yeah.
so good.
Perfect.
It was so good.
That hurts the throat a little bit.
Before we get to notes, I just have to say that was a blast.
That was
And I enjoyed
most
not
fun.
really being a part of it and just kind of surveying the whole thing. That was just so good.
Space boots.
Let's hit these notes.
Notes! Ooh.
Solid, fellas.
Had some bass on that one. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I alluded to it earlier. Brett Dawson has left the Oklahoman and he has joined the Athletic. Brett Dawson's a buddy of
Yeah.
ours.
Congrats, Brett.
Congrats to Brett. Go read his stuff. Go subscribe to the Athletic if you can. It's really, what is it? Like?
It's really cool. I don't know what it was, like 3 something a month
Yeah, it's
$3.95,
totally
right now.
totally affordable.
Also, it comes with an app that's really badass. I've been using it all day today, and it's really nice. So
Yeah, so congrats to Brett. The new city uniforms were leaked, as we said earlier. Rob, not a fan. The rest of us, closer to a fan than Rob is. Toronto Raptors also had their media day the other day, like the Thunder did. And Kawhi Leonard did this.
I'm a fun guy. Obviously, I love the game of basketball. I mean, it's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about myself. I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
And we just had to play that because it was just too good. I imagine that's going everywhere, radio, every podcast that even comes out this week. But it's
Poor guy,
it's
though.
That, I know, man.
like I feel bad for him because the one time he talks.
The one time, and he's like,
Or-
"That's why I don't talk."
Yeah, this is the first time I've laughed in 27 years. It's upsetting.
How do you think that's gonna work out? How do you think the Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard relationship's gonna work out? What's your gut?
I think it'll be fine, but he'll probably leave.
How good are the Raptors going to be?
Like,
could they get the 1 seed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think so.
You think
For
so?
sure.
But it was interesting because
It's the
Paul
East.
George said that he hung out with him in the off season,
Yep.
and he just basically told him to
Keep
just
an open
embrace
mind.
the city, like enjoy the experience,
You know what-
make the most of it.
You know what Kawhi said to that? That was pretty good, Jason.
Yeah.
Sasha Vujacic and Monte Ellis worked out for the Thunder, reportedly. I haven't heard any news out of that, so that's good. I think that's a good thing.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. LeBron listed Houston, OKC, Boston, Philly, and Toronto as title contenders to the Warriors. And the news there is not that he left out the Lakers. I mean, I guess that's kind of the news, but that he included OKC. So congrats, OKC fans, because I think that means something coming from LeBron.
Yep.
Pluto is reportedly a planet again.
Ooh, interesting.
Big news.
Yeah.
That is a huge, huge deal.
There's a great Rick and Morty sounder that we could have had. Obviously licensing issues, but Pluto is a planet.
If we change the pitch on the sounder,
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
I can
something.
make it work.
Chris Fisher replaced Brian Davis as the Thunder's new play-by-play guy. How weird is this going to be? This is going to be weird,
It's
right?
gonna be strange,
Like
yeah.
that first game was going to be like, what?
I was listening to Gallo talking to him during training camp, and it was just strange hearing him
How's he
just
sound?
talk.
I've yet to hear him
Just
talk
a normal
or-
guy.
He looks like a normal guy.
Yeah.
Looks like a nice guy.
Yeah, he looks nice.
He looks like maybe he grew up.
I don't think he was
as a
using like
paper
his
boy.
announcer voice yet, and I was like, oh, he just sounds normal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I kind of feel bad for BD a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I feel bad because he was here for so long, and man, it was just kind of like it was a staple.
I mean, he's super good at his job. Just if he wasn't saying
he's pretty
certain things,
good. I don't know if I go
certain-
super. Yeah, he had a lot of moments like that, little controversial moments like that, but it's just man, he's been there for so long.
Yeah,
That's gonna be
s-
rough.
It's gonna be strange.
Hopefully, all those things didn't ruin his career, and hopefully, he has an opportunity
Yeah.
for another job.
I was always a huge fan of Brian Davis. I think he's a great dude. I think he called a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
He had fun with it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He
Agreed.
just was a little,
Antiquated in some of the things that he said on accident.
yeah, just wasn't that aware sometimes of the things that he was saying. All right, last Space Jam 2 is a thing.
Ugh.
How you guys feel about that?
I don't.
I was a big fan of Space Jam, obviously.
Yeah, everyone is.
So I don't
Everyone
know.
Is it now called Space Jam 1? No?
No.
Just Space Jam?
No.
Space Jam.
It's just Space Jam
Okay.
for always.
All right.
I mean, hopefully it's good.
Monstars, who are they going to be?
The
Russ
Warriors.
would
Kevin
be a
Durant.
great Monstar, though.
Oh, he will.
He would
yeah.
be such a good
Yeah.
Monstar.
He needs to be one.
Kevin Durant has to be a monster, right?
Yeah, that would make he could be one of the tall ones.
Although he'd be too upset about being in the movie, being a monster, that he wouldn't do it.
That's true.
That's very true.
Well, unless the Monstars are going to win at the end, right?
Oh, that's
They're
true.
switching it.
Oh, what?
Twist ending.
He becomes a Looney Tune at the end, and
Yeah, he
the
will.
Looney Tunes end up winning.
That's nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then they can change the movie to Thunderstruck 2.
It's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's called Thunderstruck. All right, now we got a new game. Before we get off here, it's the last couple of years we've been doing Hero or Zero, where we pick the Thunder's record. We're done doing that. This time we're gonna go NBA wide. We have this is gonna be called Basket of Balls.
You ever seen his balls?
Oh, wow.
And so if you're watching on the YouTube,
Did not expect that.
if you're watching on YouTube, we have this big old basket. It's actually a bucket, but we're
And
calling
or
it
bucket.
basket. Here's the glove.
It's really big.
We're going to draw
just so
these
you
balls
know.
in each ball. So let's help me explain the game if you guys can. There's 36 balls in here. 30 of them have every single NBA team. There's 6 wild card balls. We'll explain if we draw one of them. We'll kind of start this and people will catch on. We're going to do this on a weekly basis. Whatever your record is, whatever your team you draw, whatever their record is attributed to your name. And whoever loses at the end of a month has to serve a punishment right here on this podcast.
It has to be on pod.
On the podcast so everyone sees it. Justin, you want to get us going? You got to put
And
the-
it's we're doing it for the month, but every week we're going to draw a different team.
Correct.
correct.
And we have to use that glove for some reason.
Yeah.
To get the balls
We don't want to
out.
get germs on the balls.
Yeah.
Is that just a C enemy?
And so Justin's gonna draw one. He has the opportunity to place it back if he doesn't want that one. You get
Oh
to do that one time.
one time.
What'd you
Oh,
get?
One time a month or one time?
Westbrook
people.
triple doubles.
Oh, that's pretty solid,
I'm
but
gonna-
not for the 1st
I'm going to
week.
go ahead and put that one back since he's not going to play.
Good call. And by the way, this doesn't start until the regular season, so we're just getting this started because we don't want this to interrupt our season preview or anything. So we're just getting this out of the way.
So this is not for preseason.
So this one, Justin,
I will
has
take
to
the
keep.
Boston Red Sox though,
Oh wow!
because they're gonna end up winning that World Series. And,
Wait, so
man.
do we wait till the end to say what this means? The Red Sox?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean,
So now this
happens?
is one of the wild card balls.
Yes.
And he has the Boston Red Sox. Now he's
Yeah.
gonna go with their record, whatever they have.
a big-ass bucket.
But it's gonna start when the NBA season starts. Well, it can't. Can it? Or can it? when are the playoffs?
They run until if you get a sweep, the last week in November.
Okay, so they'll be in the playoffs in August.
Maybe not.
Oh, well, then you're gonna be 0-0, and you might be all right.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah.
I better than.
oh
Russ
man,
not
What you
getting
got?
rough.
I got the Phoenix Suns. We're gonna toss that bad boy back.
That sounds like the right move.
Hopefully, wait, God, should I put it in there? Can I draw it again?
You
Yeah,
can.
you
Oh
sure can.
God, look at how terrible that would
It's
be.
a chance. I was worried about
Please don't
drawing
be
the
the Phoenix
Russ.
Suns. Oh!
Wow!
Come on.
Trader, Rob got the
Started
Warriors.
from the bottom, now he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good draw.
Feel
for
solid
Rob.
about my start.
God, I
keep
hope
this.
He
I
hope
literally
they
did
lose
drop
every game.
start
You
from
gotta,
the bottom.
hey,
Hey, you can't look
no,
in
what are you
there.
doing? Just
Look
circle.
at-
Yeah,
you
you gotta
can't
circle your hand around.
All right,
We gotta
Well,
read
he's
it.
got to circle around too. Don't
it's
just.
really high up there, you know?
Yeah, he's short. He's got tiny
Stop
feet.
looking in there, you cheater.
Tiny feet. So.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's drawing. What you got?
You're a half size
Swap
bigger.
with someone.
That you have the opportunity to swap, so you can take Rob. Wait, not yet. You gotta wait until the end, until after I draw.
Okay.
But you
Throw
can
that one
keep
back. Throw that one back.
No, I'm going to keep it.
I need the glove.
I like it. I'm going to wear it from now on.
Okay. All right, last draw is gonna be me. I'm gonna scoop my hand around here. I'm gonna clean this thing.
Yeah. Should have
Such a
already.
clean freak.
Hornets.
Oh.
Tossing
Back
that
in so fast.
Tossing
Didn't even
that
think
up.
about it. All right.
I don't feel good about the
It
Hornets.
was a good
going
shot,
into
though.
this year.
Right back in there.
And I got the Grizzlies. All right. I'll
Oh gosh.
I'll
Should've
deal
kept
with
the Hornets, I think.
that. Jason, you got the swap. You swapping?
Which one you want? You want the,
take the
Red
Warriors.
Sox?
Swap the Warriors.
Oh my god.
Rob, that leaves you to draw again.
All right, give me the.
This is your final draw. You get one.
Wait,
Okay.
doesn't that one have to go back in?
Does it? It seems like
It
it should.
should.
It shouldn't
It
go
should
back in,
because
right?
you could. What if he?
Yeah, I
that
can
would
take it
yes,
back.
I want that. I want that
The
situation to come
re-swap?
up.
That'd
Yes.
be upsetting. You'd
Yes.
probably take the Grizzlies.
That would be
though.
incredible.
That's so much.
Here we go. Come
We're
on,
about to make
swap.
Russ fall over.
What you got?
The Phoenix Suns.
Cleveland
Oh.
Cavaliers.
Oh.
Not horrible, I guess. All right, so to recap, Justin's got the Red Sox. He's crossing over sports. Rob, what do you got?
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Jason?
Golden State Warriors.
Wow, what a fanboy over here.
And I got the Memphis Grizzlies. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Our season preview is on Thursday, October 11th, so mark it down on your calendars. We'll be back again next week, though, obviously, with another one. You can see our entire season schedule over on OKCThunderheads.com this Saturday. Check this out. You're going to want to listen up. You're going to want to tune into this. I'm finally paying off my debt.
It's happening.
Oh,
Finally getting that tattoo that I promised. It's finally happened. We're doing a day tripping episode behind it. We'll do a little live streaming while we're at the tattoo shop and everything. So definitely stick around and you're going to want to watch that. Be on the lookout for it. Subscribe on YouTube. You can catch all of our pods live or on demand, iTunes. Hit us with that 5-star rating. It really does help us. Even though you might think it doesn't, it does.
It does.
The Thunder play their first preseason game next Wednesday versus Detroit in OKC. We will be back with a new one the following day. So we will catch you guys then. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.